most of the time people don't actually learn it because it's mostly a section of the Shulchan Aruch for Dayanim, for people who sit on a court, Jewish judges. But as the Ben Ish Chai once very famously said to a person who was about to open up a business, he says, "You're going to open up a business? You're going to open up a business," he said. "How are you going to open up a business? Did you learn the whole Choshev Mishpat yet?" The Choshev Mishpat is very important. As the Gemara in Masechet Brachot says, the first question they're going to ask you after you pass away after 120 years, going to ask you, did you do business, honestly? Did you even a penny, a pruta from a goy? The Shulchan Aruch says you're not allowed to steal. In fact, the Shulchan Aruch says in Choshev Mishpat, a person who steals a pruta from a goy, it's worse than stealing from a Jew. Rabbi Akiva said that. Not just for Chilul Hashem. Let's say the goy will never know. Right. The Gemara says, when a Jew steals from a goy, his angel goes up to Shamayim in front of Hashem and he says, what's the difference between the both of them? And it's a bigger kitrug, it's a bigger prosecution against the Jews than when a Jew steals from another Jew. But at the same time, we have to know our limits. Not every time that we learn about what's trickery, what's not, in Choshev Mishpat, in business dealings, not every time what we think is right, is right. Tonight our topic, I believe, is something very important, especially for salesmen, businessmen, or even a person who wants to sell something personally of his. Let's not jump already to the big guns. Let's start small. Okay? So the question is like this. I have a car. I have a diamond. I'm a salesman. I want to sell it. So I go to Shimon and I say, Shimon, I have a diamond for $10,000. And Shimon goes back and I know Shimon wants to buy the diamond, or he wants to buy my car. He's looking for an Audi. And he's going back and forth with me. No, 10,000, 8,000, 9,500. We're going back and forth here, there, here, there, here, there. Finally, Reuben and Shimon, they decide on a price. Okay, we're going to go for 8,000. Afterwards, what happens? Levi hears that I also want to sell the car. I already set up with Shimon the price. So Levi comes along to me and says to me, you set up with him for what? 9,000? I'll give you 9,500. Another $500. Who's going to say no to that? We didn't sign any contract. We didn't make a kinyan. We just said, okay, we're setting a price. And Levi comes behind my back and he backstabs me. Or he backstabs the first guy. And I sell it to him. What Levi did a isur or not? Is what he did prohibited from the Torah? Or maybe just midrabanan? Because at the same time, he didn't actually steal from me. I didn't pay him the money. You didn't pay me the money for my car or for the diamond. All we did was agreed on a price.
And there was no shtar.
There was no shtar. There was no kinyan. There was nothing. It was just an agreement. Second case. Let's say I'm giving away my furniture. And my friend comes along and says, you know what? I'm looking for some couches. He tells me, I want some couches. You have leather couches. I love leather couches. It's so nice. Let's make a deal. He says, no, for you, you're my brother. I'm giving it to you for free. You know those buy-sell giveaway chats they have right now? There's these chats right now that they come up with, like hundreds of people on them. People giving away their stuff for free. Yeah, there's stuff like that. You want to go on the chat?
Yes.
Okay, I'll put you on the chat. It's called buy-sell giveaway. So a person is giving away for free, and suddenly, I told my brother I'm going to give it to him, and suddenly, Gabriel comes up to me. He says, R.Shalom, not only will I take it from you, but I'll also pay you a little bit on the side money. He says, no, I already said to my brother, he says, listen, your brother is going to make you bring the couches to him. I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to take the couches from your house. It's for free, I'm giving it. And I said to Gabriel, okay, let's do it. Let's make the deal. Is what Gabriel did in Isur. What's the difference between the first two cases? First case, it was money. Here, it's for free. I said I was giving it to for free. Now I'm giving it to him instead for free. Is that a problem? And the third case, and these are all cases that happen every day. These things happen every day. Third case, let's say a person is going out on a shidduch. He's going out on a shidduch. In the shidduch world, religious shidduchim, you see them all over Main Street right now. So they set them up, and suddenly I'm going out with a girl. We're going out. Third, fourth date, now there's a phenomenon that's going on these days. Welcome. Come in. There's a phenomenon that's going on these days. People are double dating. Now when I'm saying double dating, alright, When I say double dating, I don't mean that two people are going out with friends. You know, me and my friend are going out at the same time. I'm saying that a girl could be going out with two guys at the same time. She sees nothing wrong with it. You know, I'm just tasting the waters.
Simultaneous deal.
Yeah. Is the person who gave the number of the second guy or the second girl to the person going over in Isur Torah? Now, where do we find in the Torah that even though I didn't actually do physical damage, that I did in Isur Torah, when Moshe Rabbeinu was still a prince of Egypt, he saw two Jews fighting, right? One of them, the Midrash says, was Datan ve'Aviram. One of them was Datan, and his wife cheated on him. Well, it was by mistake. We all know that Parashat Emor. And she was with an Egyptian, and he wanted to divorce her. And his brother was trying to make, how you say in Bukhari, Oshti? He was trying to make shalom bayit between them. And Datan's like, listen, my wife cheated on me, I don't want her no more. And he was about to pick up his hand and hit him. Picked up his hand to hit his brother. So leave me alone already, I don't want her. What did Moshe Rabbeinu call him? The famous pasuk. He said, Rasha, evil man. Lama taker re'echa. Why will you hit your friend? Did he hit him yet? First, we say he didn't hit him yet. The fact is that he raised his hand to hit him. He didn't cause physical damage yet, but he was about to cause physical damage. That was enough to call him a Rasha. Now we know over here that when a person is called a Rasha, an evil man, there's a certain kind of hashlachot, certain kind of halachot that deal with him. Number one, when a person is a Rasha, there's a mitzvah in the Beit Din, welcome. There's a mitzvah in the Beit Din to go to the Bet Knesset. The Sma brings this down, Sefer Mirot Einayim. When a person is called a Rasha in the Torah, there is a mitzvah for the Beit Din to go to shul, go up on the bima on Shabbat when everybody's in shul and say, this guy is a Rasha. Why does the Beit Din have to do that? Let's say I'm getting married. Now I want this guy to be a witness at my wedding. Since the Torah calls him a Rasha, the guy is disqualified from being a witness at a wedding. Since he's disqualified from being a witness at a wedding, that means the witness is the most important part of the wedding, the whole wedding didn't take place. There were hundreds of people there, but my witness was a Rasha, and even though in front of everyone I took the ring and I said, Hariyad Mikudesh Li B'Taba'adzu, the wedding never took place. It's like it never happened. Because this guy is considered a Rasha. So too over here, we're going to find when a person cheats his friend in business, not physical damage, not monetary damage, but he backstabbed him. He stole the deal. You know? You like that deal? Yeah, I like that deal. I also like that deal. Or a person selling a building, right? Happens a lot. Selling a building to a client, and my friend comes along and makes the deal with the client before me. Is that considered a Rasha? All these points over here, we're going to try to answer today as much as we can. And B'ezrat Hashem, tonight you're going to come out of here with a nice bag of halachot that most people don't know. Because nobody touches Choshen Mishpat mostly. So where do we start in the Gemara Masechet Kiddushin? Gemara Masechet Kiddushin, page 59, brings over there a case. I go to my friend, I go to Avraham, and I say, Avraham, do me a favor, you're my messenger to marry for me Rachel. Avraham goes to Rachel, and instead of marrying her off to me, he marries her off for himself.
Different Avraham.
Yeah, not you. Whatever, Avraham, he marries her off for himself. They fall in love, and he marries her off. Not with my money, obviously, because then that would be stealing in the way, and the thing never took place, the Kiddushin. But you married her with your own money. The Gemara says you're married. The Mishnah says in the Kiddushin, you guys are married. Gemara says, what? How is he married? He cheated him. He says he cheated him, but the wedding still took place. That means you stole my da'at, but at the end of the day, you never caused me any physical damage. You used your own money to marry. You didn't use my money. So therefore, the marriage took place. So the Gemara says, this is called in Hebrew, rama'ut, trickery. Trickery is only asur midrabanan. So midoraita, they're married. But it's only by marriage. It's only by marriage. Now how about by monetary matters? So the Gemara goes in Masechet Kiddushin, page 59, goes through a couple of cases. Very weird cases. I'll read them to you inside. There was a rabbi called Rabbin Chasida. The Gemara is so specific in its language. When it calls a person a chassid, chassid means a guy who goes over the boundaries to make Hashem happy. When the Gemara calls a person a chassid, is a chassid. This guy's name was Rabin Chasida. Rabin, that's what his name was. Don't confuse him with Yitzchak Rabin. They have no connection whatsoever. His name was Rabin Chasida. So Rabin Chasida went to marry off his son. When he went to marry off his son, the Gemara says, suddenly he falls in love with the girl himself. This guy is a chassid. Falls in love with the girl himself, and he marries her.
Is he married before?
Yeah, he has. Back then you were allowed to marry more than one wife. Right? He falls in love with a girl and he marries her. Obviously she was much younger than him too. Why? Because he was marrying off her son. But he fell in love. I wouldn't say he fell in love with her. The Gemara is going to say what happened. And he married her for himself. The Gemara says this is a guy you call a chassid. This is a tzaddik. This is not a tzaddik. This is a shar. He cheated his own son. So the Gemara says no. You see, what happened was they didn't want to marry off their daughter to his son. So the Gemara says, okay, they didn't want to marry her off to the son, so he should have told his son at least. He made him feel good. So the Gemara says he was afraid that if he would have went back home and told his son they don't want to marry him, somebody else would have come and nabbed the girl. She was a very good girl. So he ended up marrying off himself. Okay, the Gemara says it's understandable. We'll still call him a chassid. Rabin Chasida. Next case, the Gemara says, there's a rabbi called Rabba Bar Chana. Long name, that was his name. Rabba Bar Chana gave money to Rav. Who's Rav? Half of the Gemara is Rav. You should know that. That was his name. His name is really Rabbi Abba. But they called him in short, Klitschka, Rav, the rabbi. So Rav, he tells Rav, here's money, buy me a piece of land. Now it's coming more to our case. That was a woman, now this is actually monetary matters. He says to him, buy me a piece of land. Rav goes, he sees the land, and he buys it for himself. The Gemara says, whoa. This is a chief rabbi of Israel. How could he steal his friend's land? His friend wanted the land. He sent him. He was his messenger. The Gemara says, no. Rav knew that the land belonged to, how they say in the slang, the mafia. And the mafia only respects certain people. He knew they wouldn't have sold the land to Rabba Bar Chana. So to save Rabba Bar Chana, the whole mishagas, the whole bilbulatzia over there, so he said, I'm going to buy it myself. So the Gemara said, you should have told him. So he was worried that if he would have went back home and told Rabba Bar Chana that you can't buy the land, somebody else would have bought it. So he bought it for himself. Okay, the Gemara says, these two cases are understandable. They had no choice. Now the Gemara is going to bring a bomb case. What's a bomb case? Okay. There was a rabbi called Rav Gidel. This is all the same Gemara. Gemara Kiddushi Nun Tet. There was a rabbi called Rav Gidel. Rav Gidel was wandering around. He was searching for a piece of land to buy. He was in real estate. He was searching for a piece of land to buy. He finds a land and he was about to buy it. He goes home to get the money. Comes a rabbi called Rabbi Abba, a different Rabbi Abba, not the Rav. This Rabbi Abba comes with a bigger amount of money, let's say, and he buys the land instead. Rav Gidel he was very sensitive. The guy took it to the heart. He said, I was looking for this piece of land, and this Rabbi Abba is coming to steal the land away from me. He goes to complain to Reb Zera. Reb Zera is one of the chief rabbis. Reb Zera couldn't do anything about it because Rabbi Abba was a very big rabbi, so he went to complain to the Rosh Yeshiva. Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, his name was. Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha says, wait a second, you guys are right. You shouldn't have bought the land if you guys were already in the process of buying it. I'm going to wait till he comes in one of the 3 festivals, and I'm going to ask him, why did you do that? One of the 3 festivals comes, let's say Pesach came, and Rabbi Abba comes to the yeshiva. Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha calls him, come here. Calls him along, comes inside. He says, I want to ask you a halacha. What's the halacha? And this is the sugya. This is our sugya. This point is going to answer all of our questions. Ani means a poor man. Ha-mehafech becharara. A poor man who's wandering around to buy a piece of bread. He's wandering around. He's looking for a person to give him a piece of bread. Uba acher, and somebody else comes along and gets the bread before the poor man can get the bread. What is he called? Mami Kre, what is he called? So he was going to him and he was doing reverse psychology with him. He wanted him to judge himself. So Rabbi Abba answers the Rosh Yeshiva. He says it's called a Rasha. It's very important. When the Gemara calls a person a Rasha, has very big halachic consequences. He says he's a Rasha. So Rabbi Yitzchak looks at Rabbi Abba and says, if that person is a Rasha, and you know yourself that he's a Rasha, why did you buy the land that Rav Gidel wanted to buy before you? So Rabbi Abba says, I didn't know that he wanted to buy the land. So Rabbi Yitzchak says, give it to him back now. Rabbi Abba looks back at Rabbi Yitzchak and he says, I can't give him the land. I can't give it back to him. Why can't I give him the land? Because the Gemara says, anytime you buy something and it's your first thing, if you sell it away, it's a bad sign. The Gemara says, Siman ra'lo. Yeah, if you buy your first building.
It's like, is it to the certain things or just to the property?
It's not specific. It doesn't matter. Anything. Why do you go into stores sometimes and you have their first dollar bills? I don't know. Because they learned this Gemara. No, I'm just kidding. Not because of that. No, maybe it is. You never know. The Gemara says anytime you buy something, the first is always the best. Don't sell it away. Even though it's bad or anything.
So
I know people...
What about a girl?
We're talking about land right now. We're not talking about women. Okay, let's not go to the women right now. The chidush is that it's connected to women. That's true.
It's connected to everything.
Of course. Listen, the Gemara in Masechet Sotah says that there's nothing like the first, right? There's nothing like the first. But there's a book by Rav Finkel. I'm not gonna get into that right now. So the point is, Rabbi said, he says, I'm not giving him the land, but he said to him, I'll give it to him for free. I don't want to sell it to him. You can't sell something you bought first, but you can give it away for free. So they call Rav Gidel. He says, Rav Gidel, he wants to give you the land for free. He says to him, I don't want to take it for free. I want to buy it. Why? King Solomon said, Soneh matanot yichyeh. A person who hates presents lives a long life. Don't always look for the next big, don't look for free things in life. Whoever likes free things, he lives a short life. Whoever doesn't like free things, likes to pay for what he wants, lives a long life, King Solomon said. So what happened at the end of Gemara says, Rav Gidel didn't take the land, and Rabbi Abba didn't take the land. And what happened, that land became like, nobody touched that land. It was called Arad Rabbanan. The land of the rabbis.
Where's that property?
Where is the land? It's in Iraq. You're welcome to go there if you want. So, now that we have the sugi of the Gemara in our heads, let's go over what we said. What was the main point over here in the Gemara? The Gemara says like this. To shorten the point over here, just to make a sikum, a summary. The Gemara said, if a poor man is looking for a loaf of bread, he's looking for a certain item, and somebody else comes before him and nabs it before him, he's called a Rasha. Now, what was our question to begin with of the day? If I have a diamond, or I have a bike, or a car, or something that I want to sell, and I'm in negotiations with somebody to sell it, and we already made a deal, I'm going to pay you $5,000 for the diamond, and my friend comes behind my back, backstabs me, he knows I'm on the deal, or even if he doesn't know, he comes behind my back, and he knows that I want to sell the diamond, and he comes and says, I'm going to give you $6,000 for the diamond. And I sell it to the second guy, even though I already made a price with the first guy, is that considered a Rasha? That was our question. Based on this Gemara that we just said, with Rav Gidel and Rabbi Abba, could we answer our question? So the Ran says yes. What's the obvious question over here though? The halacha is if a poor man is looking for something and somebody backstabs him. Not if a rich man is coming along and trying to get something and somebody backstabs him, tricks him and gets it before him. So the Ran says, you have to understand one thing, it's a very big yesod in the Torah. You're not allowed to fit the Torah into your reality. You always have to fit your reality in the Torah. The Torah has a reality. According to the Torah, being poor or rich is relative. Not a person who has no savings in the bank, he's automatically considered poor. That person could also be considered rich, according to the Torah. You understand? Not everybody who's poor is poor, and not everybody who's rich is rich. It depends in what context we're talking about. Right? Like the Pirkei Avot says, not I'm trying to bring a proof from Pirkei Avot. It says over there, Miu ashir hasameach b'chalko. Right? So the Ran brings a very big chidush. He says like this. He says it's all relative, what's poor and what's rich. Let's say I'm going around looking to buy a piece of land, or a diamond, or a car. It doesn't matter. You guys use your imagination. I'm looking to buy, and I can't find this diamond anywhere. It's I don't know, what do you call it? VS, BS, CCC, I don't know what all the names are over there. And this guy has that diamond. Or this guy is selling that piece of land, this house. I'm looking for a house to buy, and I know this guy is, and I want it in this specific community. I want to buy it. And I can't find that house anywhere else. Relatively speaking, that person is considered poor. Because he can't find it anywhere else. So in the context of the Gemara, he's considered a poor man. Not that he's monetarily poor. Why? He's not poor. He's going to put a down payment on the house. No, he's going to put, I don't know, $50,000, $100,000. He's not poor. But since he can't find that house anywhere else, in the context of the Gemara, if somebody's going to come along behind my back and take the house before me, well, I'm in the negotiations to buy the house, he's considered a Rasha. Now the question is, the poskim asked, that's the Ran. Rabbeinu Nisim, just to give you a small bibliography, Rabbeinu Nisim is one of the Perushim, one of the commentaries on the Rif. The Rif is one of the first commentaries on the Gemara. Some people might not call him a commentary, let's not get into that. So just to give you a small chidush on the side, the Ari Kadosh, Rabbeinu Yitzchak Luria Ashkenazi says that the Ran, Rabbeinu Nisim, was from the Shorish Neshama of Yaakov Avinu. He was a very big neshama. He was one of the later Rishonim, and a lot of the halachot in the Shulchan Aruch is based on the Ran. So the Ran over here takes this halacha and gives us a broader aspect of it. He says, it doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank. It has nothing to do with being poor or rich over here. It all depends on how rare the item is. If the item is rare, and somebody tricks me and gets it before me while I'm in the negotiations, that person is considered a Rasha. If the item is not rare, let's say I don't care where I'm buying my house. I don't care if it's Forest Hills or Main Street. It doesn't matter. I could buy a house anywhere. This diamond, it's not such a very high-class diamond. It's one of the low-level colors. I could buy it anywhere, and somebody goes behind my back and takes the diamond before me. That's not considered a poor man. It's not considered a Rasha. Why? Because I could find it anywhere. Guys, I could find it anywhere. You understand? But if it's a rare item and I want it specifically from this guy, then the person who backstabs me in the back is considered a Rasha. Now the question is...
So that's only if he knows about it. If two people know that they're negotiating against it. If I didn't know the person
so how do we know what you're...
against it,
so
doesn't matter to me.
So you're saying over here, a good question.
Unless he told me and then I said, I'm looking for the same item, now I'm going to go ahead and chase it.
So you're saying a good question.
Okay,
you're asking a very good question over here. So Rabbi Avraham over here asked a question. Does that depend if the second guy knew about the business transaction? Or it doesn't depend on them. Or let's say I didn't know and then I just came and bought it. Okay. Oh, you say of course, but once again, don't fit the Torah into your reality.
No,
you gotta fit your head in the Torah. So let's look at the Gemara again.
If he tells me and then I go in bad, that's of course this.
So let's look at the Gemara again. Let's look at the Gemara. What happened over there? Rav Gidel was trying to buy the land. Rabbi Abba bought it before him.
With him, Rabbi
Gidel
knowing that.
What did he didn't know.
He didn't know.
That's why he wanted to give it back. What did Rabbi Yitzchak Nafka tell Rabbi Abba? What did he tell him? You weren't in the beginning, he says you're a Rasha.
He says you're a Rasha.
Yeah, that's called Aniya Me'afef Becharara. An Ani who's looking for a piece of bread. And somebody else comes and takes it before him. That's exactly the case.
He didn't know and then he called him a Rasha?
He called himself a Rasha. He asked him to use it.
He called himself and not even...
He didn't even know the halacha.
And he was worried that he says he's a Rasha.
So the point is, even if you don't know that I'm in the business transaction, and I come behind the person's back and get it, it's still considered a Rasha. Now the question is, do I have to return the item?
You have to say without even knowing that.
Without even knowing, I'm saying. Without even knowing. Now the question is that person has to return the money. Now I'm the buyer. Do I have to return the money to him and he's going to return the item and I have to sell it to him? Or, since it's only a derabanan, a rabbinical isur, and there was no actually physical damage to the first buyer, I don't have to return the money. So the Pitchei Tshuva goes into depth in this. The Pitchei Tshuva in the Shulchan Aruch Siman Reish Lamed Zayin 237 brings down over there a machloket. According to Rabbeinu Tam says the person who backstabbed the guy and took it from him, he's not only considered a Rasha, but in this case he has to return the money and he has to return the item.
Is this with him knowing or without even knowing?
Even without him knowing.
They're calling him a Rasha without
Yes,
even knowing.
without even, yes, no, do tshuva, return the item.
No, but he bought it without even knowing that this individual, that Reuven, was even bidding on it himself.
Yeah,
Right.
that's exactly the whole point. If he did know, it's even worse.
It's a powerful form.
Now, if the guy knew that I'm bidding on it, that I'm in the negotiations to get the house or the dime, whatever the case is, and then I go along and get it, Rashi calls that yored b'chayei chavero. I'm going down into the very essence of my friend's life and I'm taking it away. I'm going down into the very essence. Now, let's not go into a tangent over here. Let's just put the Avera into perspective. Let's put the Avera, the sin, into perspective. Is this a Doraita Avera or the Rabbanan? So we brought down the Rabbeinu Tam. Rabbeinu Tam says that a person who backstabs his friend and steals the deal, let's call it, has to return the money. The seller has to return the money. The second buyer has to return the item, and he has to go back and make the deal with the first guy. That's what Rabbeinu Tam says. But the halakha does not follow Rabbeinu Tam in this case. The halakha follows the Mordechai. The Mordechai says that even though this person is a Rasha, that since there was no physical damage to the first buyer, there was no physical damage, this bumps down the sin to a rabbinical sin. Now, if anybody here knows the scriptures in the Torah, when a person does some damage rabbinically, does he get lashes for it? He's not liable from the Torah. You only get malkut, lashes, if you're liable from the Torah. So what do you do in this case? If the person is a tzaddik, he returns the item. If the person is not a tzaddik, he says, listen, you're going to take me to court? Take me to court. You can't take the money out of my hands, and you can't take the item from his hands. And I made an extra $500 over here. Most people might have said that. Beit Din, the court, doesn't have the right to take the money out of the seller or the item from the guy, the Mordechai says. They have no right. But what is his liability? What's his punishment? On Shabbat, the Beit Din have to go to shul and they have to make an announcement. What's the announcement? The second buyer is a Rasha. That's his punishment. That's his punishment. You have to embarrass him in public. You have to embarrass him in public until he does return it. That means we're not going to force it from the Torah to give it. You should guys know one thing. Sometimes the rabbinical punishments are worse than the biblical punishments. How do we know that? A person does arayot, for example. God forbid he was with one of the women that he's not allowed to be with. He gets karet, or in some cases he gets malkut, he gets lashes. There are some cases where he gets lashes, it's called lashes midrabanan. What's the difference between lashes from the Torah and lashes from the Darabanan? When a person gets lashes from the Torah, what do? They look at the guy. Let's say the guy's puny. All day he sits and learns. He could only handle 13 lashes. So they give him 13. They give him 13, because he can't handle it. Give him 14, he's going to die. Then there's lashes midrabanan. What do to him? They hit him so hard until the point where his neshama could come out. Why? Because sometimes the Chachamim have to make an extra fence to the Torah. Now the Mordechai says, what's the source from the Torah that you're not allowed to trick a person in business? It's a pasuk in Devarim. Va'asita hayashar v'hatov be'enei Hashem. You have to do what's straight and what's good in the eyes of God. That's the source. Basically, that pasuk is the source for all business deals that are logical. That means you can't trick a guy. I mean, logically speaking, you can't trick him. It's against humanity. I'll give you another example. Where do we use that? Let's say me and Avram over here, we have 2 pieces of land, or 2 buildings, let's say. Me and you. Now, I want to sell my building. And my neighbor is Avram over here. Now, Gavriel comes along to me and tells me, I want to buy your building. According to the Chachamim, I'm not allowed to sell Gavriel my building. First, I have to go to Avram, my neighbor, and ask him, do you want to buy my building? Why? Because it's better for him to work in business if he has 2 buildings right next to each other. That's called Dina de Bar Matzah. It's a rabbinical law.
Right to first refusal.
Right. You have is that some special term?
Right to first refusal.
Right to first refusal.
How do you do that type of Dina de Bar?
The Bar Matzah?
Yeah.
Dina de Bar Matzah means you can't make the person next to you uncomfortable. You understand? So if I have 2 pieces of land, me and him, I can't sell it to another guy if I want to sell it. I have to first ask my neighbor. Understand? But let's say I did sell it to him, he's not obligated to return the land. Because it's only rabbinical. But they have to go to shul on Shabbat And they have to announce to everybody that the guy that bought the land is a Rasha. Now we said a person who's a Rasha, not only is he considered, okay, well, I'm a Rasha, chas v'shalom. Okay, what is that going to do to me at the end? Okay, a person is a Rasha. So go kill me, so sue me. I'm a Rasha. Who's not a Rasha these days? So the thing is like this. A person who's a Rasha, he can't be a witness at a wedding.
Unless you do tshuva.
Unless he does teshuvah. First, does the word Averad, he does teshuvah, then he does teshuvah. But a person who's pasul le'edut, because he's a Rasha, person is pasul. Something like that, the Shulchan Aruch writes in Siman, Lamedal, Choshen Mishpat. If I'm fighting with a guy, and I just pick up my hand to hit him, I'm pasul le'edut. I'm not allowed to be a witness at a wedding.
Yeah, but how?
Unless I do teshuvah, of course, like he said.
No,
first you gotta do teshuvah.
How is this guy gonna admit? He's not gonna admit in the wedding that, okay, I did.
So how do you do teshuvah ben adam lechavero? If I do the mistake between me and a fellow man. And one of the three biggest parashas in the Torah, Kedoshim. Kedoshim, we just had it in Vayikra, right? It's over like 45, 50 mitzvot over there. Every single mitzvah over there is almost ben adam lechavero, between a man and his friend. And what is the parasha called? Kedoshim, be holy. How do you do teshuvah ben adam lechavero? It's a famous Gemara. Yom Kippur doesn't fix it. So how do you fix it?
To ask.
You have to ask him for forgiveness. Right? Same thing with Lashon Hara. If I told Lashon Hara about my friend, if I did him damage, I actually have to go to him, and he doesn't know that I told him anything. I have to go to him and tell him, I spoke about you so and so, will you please forgive me? If there was damage by my Lashon Hara. If there was no damage, I just say, Ashamnu bagadnu, and that's it. It's in the Ashamnu, Dibarnu dofi, Lashon Hara, it's in there. Now, I'll give you a chidush. Now, all this sounds very scary. Now, how am I supposed to go into the business world right now? If I want to sell something, right? Now, I made a deal with a guy. Now, that's it? I made a deal with him. If somebody else comes along, I can't make a deal with the second guy? No. Let's look at the leniencies right now. The only isur over here is if the second buyer by himself came along and said, let me offer you a better price. But let's say the seller himself goes around looking for another buyer, there is no isur over here. Understand what I'm saying? So if I made a deal with somebody, I'm going to sell you this house for $300,000. Now then I say, wait, I can make another profit. I can make another $200,000 on this. And I go around and looking for another buyer, I didn't do any isur. I didn't make any prohibition over here.
Even though you had a verbal agreement.
Even though I had a verbal agreement with him. Why? Because I'm the seller. The Torah says if anytime I make a verbal agreement with somebody and I have to do it, you're not going to make money in your life. That's the halakha. The Torah wants to make sure that I'm also going to make a livelihood. So if I make a deal with a guy, I didn't look for the second buyer. He came by himself, he's a Rasha. But if I went myself and looked for a second buyer...
The seller, if the seller went ahead and made an agreement and say, okay, mazal, then it's also wrong. And the seller to go ahead and...
So that's exactly what I'm saying right now. In this case, if the seller does it, it's not an avera.
It should be that. Really, that's the way it should be.
No, it's not. There's a problem over
Someone
here.
makes an agreement, the seller makes an agreement, I'm going to sell you the property, and then he comes along and
Because who's losing out over here?
I'm the buyer. He shook my hand.
I'm going to tell you even a bigger chidush.
But if another guy comes to him and sells,
I'm going to tell you another
buys from him, he's the Rasha.
This is with him having intention that he's saying there's money, he's going to go next office.
Yeah, the seller.
This is lying, basically.
Yeah, it's his land. Oh, the seller is lying?
No, he's saying initially when he said for 300 we're going to sell it, he really intended
That's in the market.
No, wait a second. Let's make the guy.
That's horrendous in the market.
He knows he has another appointment in 20 minutes. It's just sold. And he goes to another appointment and says, you want to buy it?
Wait a second. If they made a kinyan,
No kinyan.
If they made a kinyan.
Deposits, this and that.
If they just made, if it was just verbal, okay, let's
I'm
make
going to send
it.
you a contract.
Oh, contract is a kinyan.
No, I'm going to
Contract
send
is-
you a contract, meaning when basically it says, okay, I'm going to send you a contract. No contract has been sent, meaning I agree.
No, sending a contract is also a kinyan.
I'm going to send you. And then before I'm going to send you, I got to
But general contracts don't go
I
to
got a
the
higher
phone
number.
dealer.
Yeah, but I'm saying I got a higher number.
Yeah.
But I told this guy already at 300, but I said, you know what, I got a higher number. And I go back to him and said, listen, I can't. If anything in the market that's looked at as
According in the market. But you
That's
know
a
that
Rasha.
it's olam hafuch, you know that, right?
it doesn't make any
The
sense.
world
to
is
me.
opposite.
That makes sense. So you want to tell me,
Yeah.
I have a building, I go ahead and I agree, okay, I'm going to sell it to you, I'm going to send you a contract in 3 hours.
Yeah.
I get back to my office, I get a call.
From the second guy.
A new guy, yeah, whatever. Second
You
guy.
get a call, you called him.
I get a call.
That's
it's in the
wrong.
market. It's in the market.
No,
the
that's
property's
wrong.
in the market.
You get a call, that's wrong.
You're saying if I call,
Yeah.
If you call,
That doesn't
Now,
make
if
sense.
I
I would
call-
think the other way.
everything out is once it's out in the market, you have to be practical. The way the market works is anything that's out.
listen, of course, there's many cases over here. We have to see the cases.
Right,
and
you're
this
making
and
big
that.
accusations.
But
accusations
in this
over
case
here.
over here, we
I'm
have
calling the
we
guy
have
that's
to
not.
the second guy, yes.
You're calling.
But the mocher, the seller, is not a Rasha.
But if the seller calls up, he's Rasha. About the
No, the seller calls up. He's not a
okay.
Rasha.
You
He's
can call
okay.
anybody still.
Yeah, he can
Just
still
one
call.
more last
He didn't
thing.
make a kinyan yet. He didn't make any.
Verbal, what happened to I thought you said that.
verbal? No, wait.
Midvar shechet tircha.
Okay, wait a
What
second.
happened to the
That
pasuk
doesn't
midvar
mean
shechet
anything in
tircha?
halacha.
Stay far away from lying. I go ahead and I tell you I'm going to sell you the
Ah.
land, and now I don't go ahead and sell you the land.
Okay, we have to
What
look
about
into
the
that for a
pasuk
second.
that says
We'll look into that over here. Midvar sheker tirchat from a second standpoint. Okay, but from the dina of rama'ut, of trickery, he's not going over
Why is
anything.
even word trickery? It's called.
Let's read it inside. Let's read it inside.
But
You're
basically,
making
I
a point.
wanna
Midvar
say,
sheker
a building's
tirchat.
on sale. I go out to the market. I'm shopping, and then somebody goes ahead and calls me
Yeah.
up. Calls me up. I'm the seller. Calls me up and tells me, Avi, I want to give you a price $1 million.
Yeah.
I heard you have a contract. That's
But you just said the seller is calling
no,
you.
and I'm doing the other way. You're saying that's the Rasha now.
That's the seller is the Rasha. The second,
The
sorry,
buyer.
the second
The-
buyer.
the
The
buyer
second
is
buyer is the
Rasha.
Rasha.
He didn't even know though.
Because first
I
of all,
don't even know that you had a bid on the
listen.
property.
Look at
That's
the context
it. It
over
came to me,
here.
oh, this building's for sale. Okay, let me go call up the owner. I don't even know yet. And I have to go ahead and call him by. And then if he tells me on the phone, by the way, I have an offer on the table at 800.
Yeah.
And you're giving me $1 million. Okay, let's do it. And now I'm gonna say to myself, you know what? I don't want to do the deal. I'm a Rasha now.
But think about it like this: if I'm gonna have to make the
But
deal, if
this
I'm
is
the
practical business ways. This
yes.
is how the way market
Let's read it
moves.
inside. Let's read inside. Ulam, he says over here. The Sefer Mishpatei Torah. This is Torah. It's good. You're bringing out more. You know. The Hillel Zakat said, "Mitalmidai yoter mikulam."
This is balance.
You learn from the people more than you learn from your chavruta, even or from your rabbis. It says over here. Ulam, he says, "Ima mocher, if the seller pana me'atzmo, he went by himself. He went by himself. La konesheni to the second buyer. That's not my words. I'm reading to you straight from the book, from the Sefer. She knemi meno, you should buy it from him, or should pirsem berabim, or like you said, it was on the market. Everybody knew it's still on the market. Shemiunyan limkor or laskir chavatzav, that he wants to sell or lease it. Afilu la'achar shekvar sikem im hakoneh mesuyam, even though he already shook hands, they already set a price on it. There was no acquisition done between them. There was no contract being signed. There was no khalifin being done. There was no witnesses. There was nothing. There was no kinyan. There was nothing in the sense of kinyan. As afal pi she'en ruach Chazal nochaim, even though Chazal looked down on this guy. Even though Chazal looked down on this guy, the seller. O mikone, miska, כשאין להם סיבה מוסדר לחזרתם. בכל זאת, במקרה שהמוכר פרסם, since over here, the seller himself wants to do it, and the seller himself, his building is still on the market, like you're saying. It's still on the market. שעדיין הוא מחפש קונה, and people still know he can still find another buyer. רשאי הקונה השני מצידו, the second buyer, לכתחילה. He could lechatchila. In the first place, he could still buy or lease from the seller. What are you going to say about that?
But who wanted that? The second buyer came. The seller.
No.
He's saying
the
over here,
seller.
he's making a point over here. Since it's still on the market, and since everybody still knows that there's still time before a contract is being signed, that a person could come and offer a better price. So therefore, if a second guy comes right now and he offers a better price, there's no isur. Because everybody knows the seller still wants to sell it. He still wants a better price. Don't you think so?
If he tells the guy, okay, I'm going to send you a contract.
Okay, maybe you're saying over here, that's what I'm saying. In your case, your specific case, he said, I'm going to sell you a contract. That's a problem. Could be midvar sheket yerchak. But from this deen over here, the dry deen inside the Shulchan Aruch, it seems like it's okay.
But he has to go out and fetch.
But he has to fetch it, the seller,
He has
or
to fetch a
everybody,
buyer.
or everybody has to, the buyer, or everybody has to know
That it's on the market.
that it's still on the market.
Okay, anyone's usually typically things that are on the market. They're out.
So that's one case, okay? That's one case. Okay, so we figured out the first question, right? So it all depends if the seller is going at it or the buyer is going at it. Or the second buyer is going at it. If it's called, now I'm going to give you a bigger chidush. Okay, a bigger chidush. Sometimes it's
What if
Torah.
you force someone to sell his building?
Wait a second. Force. Let's take
Hey,
it.
people are
Let's take
calling
it.
up,
Let's,
telling himself,
let's take
sell
it
your
easy.
building.
One halakha at a time. One halakha at a time. Now let's say over here, Rabotai, there's halakha for that too by selling. If I force somebody to buy something, for example, let's say I see you have an
sell it.
item.
I said, well, this is a great. He has an item. I want him to sell it to me.
Yeah, you want to sell it. That's a Masachet Sanhedrin. It's also considered a Rasha.
I'm giving you a very good price.
When I say force, what do you mean by force?
Not for it. I mean, he doesn't really want to sell.
Okay, so
it, but the numbers on
be
the table,
specific. So be specific.
Yeah, I mean, how do you force somebody? I mean, can't
Oh,
kill
so
him.
back in the day, people will be very threatful.
Oh, like I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna do this and this. If you're not gonna sell it to me, I'm paying him though.
Paying.
He's still a Rasha. He's paying him. He's still a Rasha. He's pasul le'edut.
No.
If I threaten a guy to sell me his item,
What does he violate?
Kill me, like you're
I
saying.
didn't say to kill. I said threaten.
Not threaten. I give him off. He says no, I'm like
Putting pressure,
massaging him.
Yeah, pressure with money though.
Yeah, with
That's
money.
something else. Why are you bringing this case
Oh,
over
that's
here?
okay.
Of course it's okay.
No, it's not okay.
Why not?
It's the same thing with pressuring. Yeah, he's
Pressure
forcing-
with money and
Money-
pressuring
money-
with
money talks. He
threatening
doesn't
in
need to
life
sell.
what matters is something else.
No, but the guy didn't want to sell, but he keeps on bothering me. I'll give you more money. I don't want to sell.
That's
Leave
the,
it
I,
alone.
think that's, I think that's the name of the game, no?
Yeah,
I think that's the name of the game already in that case, you know? That's how you make business. What could you do? Right? Now let's deal with the second case, Rabbi, before we jump. I'm going to tell you one more chidush. Now let's say, back to our case, I want to sell my car. Now I made a deal with somebody, we made a deal, I'm going to sell it to you. And somebody else comes along and he backstabs me. We said he's considered a Rasha. He's considered a Rasha. But there is a certain kula, there's a certain leniency over here. What's a leniency? If this car I can't find anywhere else, if the second buyer can't find that car anywhere else, even though I already made a deal with the first buyer, and then I come along and offer a bigger price, the halacha is that he's not considered a Rasha, the second buyer, if he buys the car. Why? In this case, since the item, once again, it's a rare item. I'm not going to find this Audi anywhere else. I'm not going to find this. I'm looking for a very old car. I collect cars. I'm looking for an antique car. Now, even though I made a deal with the first guy, and the second guy comes along and butts in, and gets the item, he's not considered a Rasha in this case. Why? Because the second guy, when he's looking for that item, he's also considered an ani. He's also considered a poor man. Right? Remember what we said, what's a poor man? It's all relative. How rare the item is. So if the item is very rare, and then the second guy is also looking for this rare item, and he backstabs the first guy and gets the item, he's not considered a Rasha. Okay? And that's how the Rama paskins in the Shulchan Aruch, lo mikre Rasha. Okay? Now, third case. Let's say I'm giving away something for free. And somebody comes along, and I already made a deal with the guy, I'm going to give you my furniture. Giving away my old furniture in my house, and I told you I'm going to give it to you, and then somebody else comes along and I give it to him instead. Is the second guy considered a Rasha? Like we said, one of those buy, sell, giveaway chats? So in this case, since the item was for free, the Shulchan Aruch paskins in Yesh Omrim, the first Yesh Omrim, like Rabbeinu Tam. Rabbeinu Tam says, any item that's given for free, there is no din of backstabbing. Only when you deal with an item that has a monetary cost. But let's say I'm giving away something for free, and I already made a deal with the first guy, the second guy could come along and take the item. So there is no din over there of ani ame'afech b'charara. That's to answer our second case. Now to answer our third and last case, let's say a person is going on a shidduch, we said, and somebody else gives her or him a second number. Now she's dating two people at the same time. Is the guy who gave the girl the second guy's number the other way around? He gave the guy the second number. Now he's dating two people. Did he go over in isur? Because they're dating the first person and they're already going 4 or 5 dates, and it's going like it's like making a business deal. No, isn't marriage like a business deal?
Yeah.
You know?
Is he knew that he's dating or she dating?
Yeah, they knew. They both, the guy, the shadchan wants to make $5,000. Any person who sets people up today, it's money, right? If I set a person up, it's $1,000, $2,000. You throw some money to them, right? I heard cases.
Would the shadchanim push for double dating?
Some shadchanim push for it.
Oh, wow.
Why? Because they want to. If it doesn't work with the first person, maybe it's going to work with the second person.
Exactly.
You understand? They want to play around, but make some money. You know?
Speed dating.
Speed dating. Everybody knows what you're doing over there, right?
Yeah.
So Rav Moshe Feinstein says, in this case, it depends. If the person that's dating is just dating, they don't have an engagement yet, or they didn't do any shidduch, like they didn't do kanchori. Let's call it kanchori. What's kanchori? That's like legit. We're legit now. We're exclusive. If there was no kanchori yet, they could date how many people they want. And the person who gives the shadchan, who gives the second number, it's okay. It's not a good thing to do because you're going to hurt the other person's feelings if they find out. But it's okay. But if they already made like a kanchuri already, and they're legit, they're exclusive, and then the shadchan wants to make sure that she's going to make some money out of this, and she gives a second number, that's already called ani amafech b'charara, and the shadchan is considered a Rasha. This concludes our lecture tonight for Chod Choshen Mishpat. Baruch Adonai Olam Amen. Thank you everyone for coming. Do we have 10 maybe?
Yeah, we have. Yeah.